DOE's mission is stabilization and cleanup of the Hanford site. And the reason why that's important is because there is a legacy of waste left over from World War II and the Cold War. And we need to make sure that that's done in a manner that's safe to the public, the workers, and the environment. And as part of that mission is what's known as the 2015 vision, which is scaling down the active cleanup footprint of the Hanford site from its current 586 square miles to 75 square miles by 2015. A lot of our goals include treatment of 500 billion gallons of groundwater that's been contaminated and shipment of 638 different shipments of waste off of the site to the waste isolation pilot plant in New Mexico, and safe storage of 12 million tons of waste on site in the central part of Hanford. We've also put 6 reactors, full-scale nuclear reactors, into safe storage. And one of those reactors, B reactor, which would be outside of the 6, is actually being set aside for historic preservation. So that's a little different. So we put 6 of those reactors in safe storage. And we've also cleaned up more than half of the waste sites along the Columbia River and about half of the facilities along the Columbia River. And we've cleaned up almost a third of the waste sites in the central part of the area known as the Central Plateau. A lot of the jobs at the Department of Energy include overseeing cleanup work. So we have a lot of engineers, we have safety people, we have project directors and facility representatives to make sure that the safety procedures for particular facilities are followed. But since most of them are engineers, or a lot of them are engineers, we also have folks on the business side as well too to make sure that we have operations covered there. So this includes finance, budget, human resources. So we have a really diverse workforce here at the Hanford site. So DOE, the way that we strive to meet state and federal standards is we request a cleanup budget, which will enable us to meet the regulations, the milestones as we call them in the tri-party agreement. That's the governing document of cleanup of the Hanford site. And we also have contracts with contractors where we put inside the contract that they will meet those state and federal standards. And we also oversee that work as it's being completed to make sure it meets those standards. So it's very important to the Department of Energy. It's part of our mission. So the Department of Energy is the lead agency of the Hanford site. We're actually in charge of the cleanup. We are one of the tri-party agencies, the other two being the EPA and the other one being Ecology. They are regulators of us. So they ensure that we're meeting those state and federal standards. And since 1989, we've worked together as 3 agencies to ensure that we meet schedules and regulations for Hanford cleanup. So how we prioritize cleanup is we prioritize based on risk or potential hazards. So in the past, we've stabilized special nuclear material. We've removed spent nuclear fuel into dry storage. So we've eliminated some of the risks out there. And now we're in the stage where we're actually taking down buildings, we're removing them, and getting to the waste sites underneath those buildings, which have the potential to migrate towards the Columbia River. And so the focus now, the priority now, is to remediate those waste sites, take down those facilities in order to protect groundwater and thus protecting the Columbia River. So the Hanford budget is approximately $2 billion. It's split between 2 offices, the Richland Operations Office and the Office of River Protection. Our office, the Richland Operations Office, is overseeing demolition and deactivation of facilities along the Columbia River and in the central part of the site known as the Central Plateau. So we're taking down buildings, we're remediating waste sites, we're treating groundwater. The other office, the Office of River Protection, is actually building up, constructing a waste treatment plant, and which will treat waste that's been stored in underground tanks. So one thing I want to get across is that DOE is committed to public involvement. We value the input of the public. They have opportunities at our public meetings to give public comment and go on the record with their thoughts and their priorities of Hanford cleanup. So we do value that input. As far as from jobs and internships, we have a summer internship program, and we invite college students to apply online. As far as actual jobs, I refer people seeking jobs to our contractor websites and also usajobs.gov. The one thing that I do want to get across for students is that we have social media sites. It's a little bit new for the government. It's something that always hasn't been there for us. But we have a Facebook page, we have a YouTube page, and this is a good way for the public to get involved and stay up to date on Hanford cleanup, see pictures and videos of what's actually happening out on site. And it's a good way to start a dialogue between us and the public. Personally, I think it's very important to know what's going on in your backyard, especially here with the local community. And I would encourage students, high school, college, to get involved. There are a plethora of ways to learn about Hanford. You know, I mentioned social media, mentioned stories in the actual media, things like that. We have a public tour program where people who are over the age of 18 can register and actually come on site and see cleanup happening. We also have bioreactor tours where people can see the preservation of the bioreactor, which is an ongoing process. So there are many ways to get involved, and it's exciting. There's a lot happening here. There's a lot of intelligent, helpful people here in the Tri-Cities working to accomplish this great cleanup goal. And not only is it interesting, but it's important. So I encourage people to get involved.